Hello, everybody. Happy Monday, 6 p.m. in Boston. And today, our podcast, our live session with wonderful lady, Geremy Chavez. Geremy got a beautiful idea and she implemented it together with her husband. So they converted their own house into co-living space. So, hi, Geremy. Welcome to my podcast. Happy to have you here.
Hello, thank you for having me, Elena. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Jeremy. I'm really happy to have you here today because this is a goal for all our community to explain people what they can do in co-living, what are the options we all have. So even if you don't have much money, and if you don't feel yourself ready to jump into big game, you always can work with your own house, like you just done.
Yes.
So tell us, please, a little bit about yourself. Who is Geremy Chavez? Where do you live? What's your general?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So, who's Geremy Chavez? So, Geremy Chavez, number one, is a daughter of the Most High. And next, I'm a wife of a wonderful man by the name of James, and a mother to three beautiful kids.
Oh,
Besides from only, and I didn't even talk about the two dogs, and but anyway, and so really my background is in personal finance and educating people on how to better save, spend, and invest their money. And so it kind of ties in to the way my husband and I bought our first property that we lived in. And this goes back 20 plus years when we were young and we were so excited, and we were taking all the budgeting classes that were offered at the Army bases, because at the time my husband was in the Army, and all these budgeting classes and saving classes and how to use your VA home loan to buy a house for zero money down classes. We took advantage of those, and we saw the opportunity to do that. And so
wonderful.
really that's where it kind of started, is 20 years ago, just by seeing the opportunity to buy a home with zero money down.
Great, guys. Very smart. Using this opportunity even 20 years ago, when I believe nobody heard about creative finance, anything specific, but you guys know you can leverage VA loan to buy house with zero out of. Okay, so let's come to the point when when you got idea to convert your house into co-living space. Who
Okay.
was there? Who got this idea, and what was the main purpose? Except money, of course.
Okay. Awesome question. Because yeah, like I said, we bought the house that we lived in personally. Never thought of, turning that into anything more than just a place for us to live. But then, of course, after a couple years of living there in our primary home that we bought with 0% down, my husband came on orders. So then we were going to be moved to another duty station. And that's when all service members who have bought a home have that decision to make. You know, do I
Mm,
sell? Do I rent? And so, since I have my background in the financial world, we did some calculations, and we found that, unfortunately, because we had only lived in the house for a couple years, that really we hadn't paid down much of the mortgage, and neither had the house appreciated much in those 2 years.
mm,
So by having to go the route of selling the house, that would mean that we would basically break even, if not lose money, because now we would have to be the sellers and most likely pay for closing costs for the buyers, pay our own real
mm.
estate agents for the transaction, and so on. So we made the brave decision, to go ahead and rent the house out. That was 20 years ago. But
Great,
fast forward to
great.
today, we were looking at the house. The last tenant we had, it was a family, and we had thought, okay, let's do what we've always been doing for the last 20 years. We're just going to rent it out to another family, a typical single family home. Let's rent it out that way. However, more recently, my husband started a real estate company, and his vision is to provide affordable housing for aged out foster kids because there's a big need for foster kids that are aging out. And so while he's doing his kind of own thing and he's doing that with his company, I thought, we live 15 minutes to Fort Carson, Colorado, the Army base. Soldiers need affordable housing as well.
Right.
So I'll let's explore the idea of doing co-living for them, and instead of renting it out as we always have to families. That's kind of
Mm-hmm.
where the idea came from. Was my husband was doing that already, and I wasn't really active with that. I'm more of a passive partner in that business because um, I enjoy substitute teaching, and I do
Mm-hmm.
financial counseling, and then I operate the one property that we have as a rental. I do all the property management. I'm pretty much the landlord, the property manager, all the things, and so I thought, I have enough on my plate. Let's I'm not going to help him with his business. But I thought, well, I could tweak my business model with the one rental that I'm
Mm-hmm.
responsible and solve the problem of affordable housing. And also, potentially, there's a little bit more money that I can make as well.
Okay. So anyway, I will make another session with your husband and with his partner to speak about
Okay.
foster houses, post foster houses. And actually, it's another wonderful model. Let's come back a little bit to your situation. So, how did you start converting your? How many you said bedrooms you converted into co-living? 3 bedrooms in your own house, correct?
Correct. It's my
Three.
own
Okay.
personal um, rental property that I've
Okay.
converted from single family, let's rent to families, to single family, let's rent individual bedrooms. It's 3 bedroom
Okay.
house. Yes.
Okay. So how did you guys started? Did you care that time about legal part of the issue? Do you sign with your tenants any kind of contract?
Absolutely. Those are always things on our mind. We want to be smart about things. I mean, right now, the co-living is pretty new in some areas, so maybe there's not a
Mhm,
whole lot of legalities around it, but
mhm.
very proactive. So we wanted to know,
Yeah,
is this fine to do? And apparently, in this area, it's very popular, and so it was
yeah,
just kind of new to me, but not too new to the
yeah.
area. But absolutely, every individual that will have a signed lease. They'll have
Mhm.
a background check
Yep.
because as a landlord, it is your responsibility in running your business when it comes to housing that not only is it uh, a secure place, and
Mhm.
they can enjoy it, but you also definitely have to consider the safety factor
Yeah,
for
yeah.
everybody.
For everyone, for everybody. Yes, I agree.
Correct.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jeremy. Guys, for watching us right now, I wanted to remind you today our session with Geremy Chavez. She lives in Colorado, and she tells us how she and her husband how they converted their own house into co-living space. So after this live session, please jump into Zoom. I just posted link in this Zoom. Jeremy will answer your questions if you will still have any questions to her how she does her business model. Thank you so much, Jeremy, again. And I would like to ask you, would you mind to share with the community a contract that you signed with tenants? Because I got feeling that your contract should be kind of unique because usually people rent out investment properties, but you do it in your own house. And I believe you should predict a lot of stuff living with your tenants, right? And this contract supposed to be unusual. unique.
Definitely.
So,
When we decided to do the co-living, I realized
mhm,
that the old lease, our prior lease that we were using, that is
mhm.
legal in the state of Colorado, that I had an attorney make, 20 years ago, it wasn't going to cut it for this living situation. And I want to make one correction, Elena, if you don't mind. It is a
Yep,
personal property that we own, but it's not a
yep.
personal residence. We're not currently
Ah,
living in
okay.
it. So it's a single family home with
Okay.
bedrooms, and all three bedrooms will be rented out to individuals.
Oh,
But
yeah, you see, misunderstanding. I got this misunderstanding. I was believe you live in the same house.
no, but the contract is very unique. To your point, it is very unique. So what I
Mm,
did was, I reached out to a couple of um, people that I saw their ads. They're listing for
mhm,
co-living and renting individual
mhm.
bedrooms in the state of Colorado, because I don't live in Colorado and that's where my property is. I live in Texas. So I wanted to make
Mm,
sure, I get with the local people that are doing it and what leases are they using and best practices. And one gentleman was really kind, and he sent me his lease, a blank version, of course, so that I can use that
mhm.
tenants. The other thing that I
Yep.
did that was very useful is, I did a little bit of research on my own on Google and looking online, and I saw that it's very common for these co-living situations to not only have a lease but also have these house rules, so that everybody's
Mhm.
same page of how to live in the co-living situation, and kind of set
Mhm.
some expectations of behaviors, how to be in these shared spaces, the common areas like the kitchen. It's common sense, but you just want to make sure that everybody's on the same page by providing those rules up front about quiet hours. A family, an individual family, you wouldn't have to do that because they all know each other, they talk to each other, they're family,
Yep.
they're a unit. But when you're doing individual, three individuals, they're strangers to each other in most cases, and so they need to know what kind of are the norms in this shared area and space and co-living that I'm in.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. And per my understanding, mostly your tenants are soldiers, right? And Navy guys.
Correct. Well, right now, currently, I have three bedrooms for this co-living, and one of them
Mhm.
is rented out to a service member. So I'm hoping to get two more service members here because they all have kind of like the similar schedule. They wake up early in the morning, they go to physical
Yeah, yeah.
training. Usually they're
Yep.
they're going to keep the same schedule. And I think that would make it a very kind of like harmonious living situation. They
Mhm.
understand each other, and but we'll see because I'm still advertising, and we'll see who ends up, being interested in the other two bedrooms.
Yep. Yep,
Yeah.
Jeremy. It's very interesting conception. I know several people who are hunting for houses around military bases. So could you please tell us a little bit about specific of this housing? How do you list your property? How do you what people should know to attract people from military base, tenant from soldiers who are in military base?
I apologize. You might hear this sound in the background because I'm actively renovating this co-living, this house that we're speaking of right now. So I have a contractor in
Ah,
here,
okay.
and apparently he's working right on the other side of that wall. But that goes to show, this is the real world. I'm still in my work clothes because I was painting and I was helping the contractors out because I want to
Oh,
keep the project along, and finish up the project. But
it's
nonetheless,
wonderful. Mhm.
one of the things that I found helpful in advertising the co-living rooms is using Facebook Marketplace, because first of all, it's free to advertise and use.
Mhm.
Um, and so, of course, I still use traditional methods. I still have a sign in the front yard. I have sign. I'm lucky enough that I'm open to
Mm.
a back road, so I have a sign in the back. Depending, I would tell people that when you're advertising your rental, just make sure you know what the local codes are and your local, city and their rules. Because before, the city in which the house is, and it's Fountain, Colorado, by the way, it's about 20 minutes south of Colorado Springs. But
Mm-hmm.
before, I could post signs in front of the house, a for rent sign. I could post one at the corner with a permit, and I could post one at another large intersection with a permit. So now our city's not allowing that. So now I have to rely more on digital methods of advertising. So that's where the Facebook Marketplace came in. I've created a
Mm-hmm.
website to direct people when they come they see the house, buy signs, either the front or the back. On the for rent side, there's a big QR code. I'm going to take advantage of all the digital options of advertising, and they can scan it and they can go directly to a website that will show them a tour of the home, a tour of the individual bedrooms, give them specific details about square footage and those kinds of things.
Mm.
Also,
I like
there
it.
are websites that I have not explored yet, um, but there are other websites like roomies.com, furnishedfinders.com, and
Mm-hmm.
many others. But it really, I think, would depend on the area in which the person has their rental, because some websites are more popular in certain areas than other websites.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. I love
Yeah.
it. I love you. Just you're so creative. You're using not only really traditional way to promote to list your houses. So many interesting stuff, even QR code, even website.
Yeah.
This is top
Oh, and
level.
one other way,
This is
I just remembered. Sorry to interrupt, because I just remembered Zillow.com is also another one that allows you to
oh.
post on there for free. And you can do a single family home. You can do other types of house homes in addition to individual bedrooms, which that was really
Mhm.
neat for me to find out, because I've been using Zillow for the past 20 years for just the traditional single family home rental. But now they're also,
Mhm.
there's a little checkbox where you can check it and it says this home is individual rooms for rent.
Perfect, perfect. And you know what, Jeremy? Per my knowledge, Colorado. This is first state in U.S. who allowed people implement co-living. It's
Yeah.
absolutely permitted legally, and you don't have to worry about a limit of people in the same house, right? You can have your tenants absolutely legally and
So
do co-living.
I'm not a lawyer, so I can't be telling people that it's legal and it's good to do. It's okay
Mhm.
to do. But what I could say is that um, since there's 3 bedrooms and I'm having 3 individual renters, this is
Mhm.
not a, I think where the laws come in to prevent co-living is when you're talking
Yep.
about multiple rooms in one home. And so this is, I didn't add any rooms. This is just still a single family home, you know.
Mhm.
So I would definitely advise people that if they do have um, more than the traditional family unit of people living in there, I would say maybe five
Mhm.
or six people in co-living, then I would start really digging into your laws in your area where you live to
Mhm.
see what the laws are for that, because you can run into problems when you have that. In
Mhm.
my case, it's 1 bedroom for each person. There's 3 people.
Yep.
It's totally, in my opinion,
Yep.
it's fine.
Yep.
No concern
I
of
agree with.
safety, anything like that. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree with you, Jeremy. I agree with you. Just wanted to remind you guys today our live podcast is with co-living real estate investor Geremy Chavez. She and her husband they implement co-living model in their own house, where 3 tenants live under the same roof, and they do it next to military base in Colorado.
Wow.
And right after this session will be done, please uh, jump to Zoom. I posted link in the comments for Q&A session. So if you will have any questions to Jeremy, she's happy to answer your questions. Thank you so
Yeah.
much, Jeremy. Okay, so for how many years already you do this? You rent out your room, your house?
Okay, so like I said, the traditional way of renting the whole house to one family, been doing that for about 20 years.
Okay,
But the
okay,
co-living, the co-living, I just had my first
yep.
tenant move in a couple days ago. So that's
Mm,
I still have
excited.
bedrooms available, and yeah, the house we have a little like last minute touches that we have to do on the house, but it didn't seem to bother my current tenant. He I was transparent ahead of time. I said, "Hey, we're finishing up a couple things and your bedroom is completely finished." I said, "But there's other things around the house that we're still working on, as you can hear in the background, a couple things. And
Mhm.
right now we're fixing the laundry room sliding doors, and that's what you're hearing on the other side of that wall right now. We're hearing a drill. That's what the contractor's
Yeah.
working on." So anyway, but yeah, so we're really excited to provide two more bedrooms to preferably soldiers, because we already have,
Mhm.
service member. I think that would be a good community, but um, we just want to be able to help out individuals that might need something not traditional, like
Mhm.
renting one bedroom out of a home. And there are many benefits, I would say, of doing that. Of course, there's, you can save money instead of renting a one bedroom apartment
Yeah.
versus one bedroom in a house. Now, in an apartment, you're not going to get the kind of privacy that you can potentially in a single family home. You have a big backyard. In our case, in this property, you have a big front yard. And so
Mhm.
those are some things to consider um, for people.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you that actually I spoke with several people who are really enjoy living in co-living space because it gives people feeling of community. They are not alone. People are around. They can make some kind of party. They can make dinner together. So different reasons why people can do it. Even professionals who are not, I mean, who makes enough good money, they prefer to live smart. They want uh, to rent room to save money for down payment, right, or to invest money.
Yes,
Different reasons. James, we have
absolutely.
comment we have comment from James. Thank you so much, James. Great job. Yeah, thank you so much for being today with us. And Jeremy, I have a couple other more questions. So, what kind of preparation you guys done after you decided to switch from long-term rental to co-living model? What did you modify in your house?
Oh, that's a great question. So remember, I just pointed out about the sliding, doors in the laundry room. That's one modification we made. It's not a big
Mhm.
deal, but it is. It kind of is. It's a small detail, I should say. It's not a big detail. It's a small
Yeah.
detail, but I think it's going to go a long way, because with different people having, potentially maybe different schedules. And the laundry room is upstairs, and that's where the bedrooms are. And so I wanted
Mm-hmm.
to out the doors. So the doors before were just like mm, they're called bifold doors, the kind that you pull out,
Mm.
and the one turns into two, right? And the other one turns into two. And so what we did instead is to make it a little quieter. We installed doors that were going to slide. So it's going to be sliding doors instead. And I think that's going to keep some of the noise down versus having it open. Let's see. And I'm going to be furnishing the shared spaces. So the laundry room is one
Mm.
of those spaces. The powder room downstairs is a shared space. Um, Living room, dining room areas. They're all shared spaces. So those are the
Mm-hmm.
types of things that we had to do differently than before. When you rent it to a family, well, then they're going to have their own washer and dryer, right? They're going to have their own dining
Yeah.
table and couches. So, um, let's see, what else did I do to, oh, the other modification that I think is really, really important for security of your tenants is installing a proper lock. So when a family moves
Mm.
in together, right? Usually only
Mm-hmm.
the master bedroom has the lock, and the other bedrooms typically do not have them. Well, in the
Yep.
co-living space, that master bedroom lock is not quite enough because those are really easy to kind of open. You can swipe a credit card in the crack of the door and the door jam, and you can get
Yep.
in fairly easy, right? We've all locked ourselves out of our room. We know that hack. Well, as the landlord, it's my responsibility to make sure that each person, when they walk into they leave their bedroom, their space, that they can secure it completely with a deadbolt. So that way they
Mm-hmm.
are 100% that door is not getting broken into, or if it is, it's going to be very obvious, right? So there's not going to be, I feel like that's going to provide the peace of mind that their stuff is really locked and secured. Because if you think about it, when you walk up into a co-living situation, in my case, the bedrooms are upstairs and my tenants are coming home from a long day at work, when they go into their bedroom, it's like they're unlocking their kind of like version of their apartment or their house. So they need a proper
Yep.
lock to go in and out. Yeah.
Cool. And you mentioned previously that you have kind of rules for your tenants.
Yes.
What kind of rules do you have, and how do you inform your tenants about their rules? Maybe you put it in the contract, or maybe you have it somewhere uh, on, I don't know, on refrigerator in front of everyone's eyes.
Actually, that's not a bad idea, but I want them to feel as home, like in a natural home environment as possible. So I think posting the rules, although I think it's a great idea, I think that would probably like take away the feeling of feeling in a natural environment. So what I do instead, and again, I'm still learning as I go. I might change my mind about that in the future, but right now, the way I've done it is I've included it as part of the lease, and it's an addendum. So it's proper
Mhm.
own separate document, but in the lease we reference it so we know it is part of the lease. And it didn't,
Mm,
just a couple of pages to say, these are the expectations, so that we all are on the same page, so we can all kind of understand and enjoy this space fully and be as safe as
mhm,
possible, and just really
mhm,
have peace and as much harmony as possible. So some of the house rules would be, um, for instance, one of them is the quiet hours I mentioned. After 10
mhm.
o'clock, nobody should be blaring their stereo, you know, and up
Yeah.
until 6 in the morning. 10 to 6 is the quiet hours. So if everybody's respectful, that should be happening. Laundry shouldn't really be happening during those quiet hour times. Um,
Mhm,
Another rule would be, like, when it comes to one master bedroom has its own private bathroom, but the other
mhm,
two bedrooms have to share a hallway bathroom. And so the rules for them would be, um, take your toiletries, take your shampoo, take your razors out of the bathtub, and take them back to your room, and bring them back when you need them. Take them back and put them away, because people use a lot of common products, right? Like
yeah.
shampoo, Dove, whatever, the Pantene. So we don't want any kind of potential problems to come up where, hey, that was mine, and this, so we want to prevent some of those things. Um, let's see. Oh, no smoking, no smoking in the house, no smoking in the garage. Um, those
Good.
types, those types of rules.
Mhm. Yeah, I like it. Cool. For those who are watching us right now, just wanted to remind you today our podcast about co-living, and my guest is Geremy Chavez, wonderful lady, wonderful, smart, and very creative lady. From everything I just heard from you, Jeremy, really creative. And
Thank
she
you.
and her husband, they converted their single family house into a co-living model, the co-living house. And Jeremy just opened her some secrets, how they done preparation for their house, how she list their house. So many great ideas. And after this session, please jump with us into Zoom if you have any questions to Geremy. She will be happy to answer your questions. Okay, dokie, Geremy. So, what your next plans for any new ideas related to co-living?
So let's see here. Any new ideas? Well, I want to go back a little bit because when you had asked me the question of how did this idea kind of come about, the co-living, and I really attributed a lot of the idea based off of what I saw my husband's interest and what he was doing and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was staging this home and buying all the furniture and we're assembling it, and my daughter's helping me, and I'm picking different pieces or like a little picture frame or a little, decoration to make it feel homey. I really didn't realize how much I cared about the people that are moving in. And then I started to really think about that a little more. Like why is it so important for me to add these little touches to make them feel welcome? Like I have a sign that says something like, welcome home, and little things like that. And then when I thought about it further, I had forgotten, but I remembered that when I was 18 years old and I was a rebellious teen, my mom can tell you that, and I will not deny it. Like that's what it was. And I got actually kicked out of the house when I was 18.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh.
thankfully I had a job. But at that time, I just remember, and I had a deadline, right? So I had like till the end of the month. And I just remembered scrambling for what am I going to do? Where am I going to live? And then
Mm-hmm.
my sister at the time, she was still in high school. I had just graduated. My sister at the time, Betty, says, "Hey, one of my friends at school, his mother's a single mom, and he has an older brother that just left for the army. I wonder if my friend could talk to his mom and let you rent out the bedroom for his big brother that just left to the army." And I said, "Please, please, please ask. That would be wonderful." I had a job. I could pay a room, but at the time, I couldn't have afforded to rent my own apartment. And I didn't have any
Mm-hmm.
friends or family that I could know and trust to go in on an apartment. So I said, "Yes,
Mm-hmm.
please do that favor." And so Betty went and talked to her friend at school the next day, and from there, he went home and talked to his mom. And luckily, she said yes, and it worked out. I moved in pretty much right away to her son's bedroom, who had left for the army. So I got on my feet by that situation, and so then it
Mm-hmm.
made sense to me. I think it was a deeper reason why I like the co-living situation, because I you don't know why people might need an alternative to the traditional way of housing. There's
Yep.
all kinds of reasons. And so that for me, that's when I realized it was actually more personal than even watching my husband, which I totally admire and I love what he's doing. And I love the cause with the aged out foster kids.
Mm-hmm.
But even deeper, and I didn't realize it at the time, it was so deep that it was more personal than I even realized.
Thank you so much, Jeremy, for sharing this with us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Especially if you have experience, you understand really. People really have different reasons,
Mhm.
not only financial reasons. People really have different reasons to want live in the room, not just rent house.
That's
Thank you
right.
so much. And I would like to invite everyone right now into Zoom. If you want to ask Jeremy question, please find Zoom link. I posted in the comments right here. And let's go to Zoom and talk more
Okay.
detailed. Thank you so
We'll
much,
see you
Jeremy.
there.
Yeah.
I'm
See you in
excited to
1 minute in
answer any
Zoom.
questions. Come on, join us over there.
Yep.
Thank you, Elena. I'll
See
see you in
you. Yep. See you.